Hi everybody, this is Marr here. Welcome to another Mullins vlog session where I tell a bunch of stories or explain my opinions about stuff. And today I figured I'd do a little interesting story lesson for today. I think a lot of us are afraid of something, or were afraid of something at one point. Like, I know a lot of people that have major arachnophobia, some people are afraid of clowns. When I was young, I was scared of being alone in the dark. And when I used to go to sleep, I will always have the TV on to sleep so that there'll be light in my bedroom. But I'm not talking about like that stuff. I want to talk about specifically a phobia that I kind of have back when I was in elementary school going through high school. And something that I think I've gotten over, but it is something that I used to have a major phobia of. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because over the past few weeks we've been having a lot of major hurricanes. I wasn't, where I lived at, I wasn't majorly affected. I mean, I got a lot of rain from the hurricane, but we didn't get like any other major wind or damage or even the lingering tornadoes that happened from the hurricanes like Harvey. Jose didn't cause that much, but I know that some of the northeast got some of the rain. And just a lot of major hurricanes. I mean, we're talking about a lot of Category 5 hurricanes in one string, one after another. And the story I want to talk about isn't so much about hurricanes, but more or less of something similar to that, and that being tornadoes. Back in my elementary school, we were always, once every month or two, we would always do a tornado drill. And for the longest time, I could never understand why we have to do that, because I didn't really... It's not like I didn't know what a tornado was, but I guess I didn't understand the impact that it could have. Or like saying like, oh, this would never happen where I would live. We would never get a tornado. And unfortunately, like, where I live, like in the southwestern states, or southeast, we're in the south states, without trying to get specific of where we're at. And while we do live like in the mountain areas, where like, you know, the mountains really weaken some of the storms, that doesn't mean that a chance of a tornado couldn't happen. And for a while, I didn't really like, we had some lightning, but that didn't like bother me. It's more or less the idea of a twister coming through that kind of scares me, but I never really had that much, or at least none that I can remember. I know one time when I was like probably like very little, there was a twister that was close to hitting the trailer that me and my family used to live at, but that was years ago, so I can't remember. So for a while, I didn't understand why we had to do these tornado drills, or why, you know, we should be afraid, because like that could never happen or something. But then came close about a few days before my 8th grade was over, before I jumped into high school and etc. We were all outside enjoying the sun, and I did notice like in the corner that the clouds were dark. Now usually when I saw dark clouds, it's usually like light gray or light purple, but these were like black, like thick, as dark as like the shelf here. It was that black right there. And the teachers told us all to hurry back inside quickly. And we were all cramped in the classroom, you know. Most of the 8th grade class members, we were all in the classroom. And we heard the intercom going on and off, giving updates of like what's going on. And I didn't know what was going on at first. Then the announcer would say, please take cover, we're underneath a tornado warning. And there was a tornado close by to the school. And suddenly the whole data was finally coming into my head. It's like, okay, tornado happening here? What? Like, I didn't believe it, but as we were all lining up the lockers, the power was kind of flickering, and you can hear in the distance, you know how some people will tell you that a tornado will sound like a freight train moving? It literally sounded like a huge freight train coming through. And I was terrified, because it took me because I wasn't like afraid of tornadoes, I didn't understand impact. But then, since there was one presumably outside, I mean it sounded extremely close to the building, I was terrified, I was getting scared. And it didn't help the fact that a minute after we all, you know, did our tornado drill, taking cover next to the lockers, the power went out. The freight train noise just became more ambient because everyone was silent. Now granted, the emergency power did came on, showed around 2 minutes or something, and the tornado presumably went off. And I mean, I couldn't tell if the tornado was literally outside the school building, but it did sound like it was a heavy freight train sound, and that terrified me. And after that, I was scared to death. Like, now I understood the consequences of a twister happening, the fact it could happen in the little mountain area that we live at. And so for the longest time, I was focused on weather. Like, I was on Weather Channel, weather.com. Like, I was heavily focused on listening to the weather because I was scared of there being a twister, and any mention of like thunderstorms, I had to like dig deep to make sure, okay, how bad it was and stuff. And for a while, I used to bookmark the Torcon page now on weather.com. I don't know if they still have this. I haven't really checked in ages. There used to be a thing called Torcon, where every time a cold front would come in, they would rate the states grading on like what's the presumed chance of a tornado happening. Sometimes like 3 or 5, just a scale of 1 to 10, presumably of a tornado outbreak happening. And I used to pay attention to that every time, whether it be a small cold front or big cold front or any big major weather happening. I had to focus on it majorly. And it did kind of presume onto my high school years as well, because even on moments when I see a dark cloud out, I used to ask my teacher, can you please pull up weather.com and stuff. Like, I was that afraid of having a twisted, like lightning or like for hearing thunder. I was fine with that. Heavy rain, I can deal with that. Hail, we don't really get that much hail, but and the winds, they kind of scared me a little bit because I presumed that was also like the cause of a twister happening. But it was just the idea of another tornado happening in my area that I was scared. I was scared for, like, you know, a tornado coming and ripping out the house and taking my loved ones away and stuff like that. And even the fact of movies like the movie Twister and stuff, I just tried to not watch because I was that terrified. To give an idea of how bad my phobia of twisters was, what happened between probably my sophomore year of high school, when it was summer break. I was home alone. Chris was working and Mom was working. I was home alone with Cody. We were in the living room and I was playing some video game, and I heard like the wind hailing. Like, I thought Twister was going out. I tried going on the Weather Channel, but there was no satellite. I tried going on the internet to the weatherchannel.com, but the internet was out. We still have power, but there was no signal. And I was scared and horrified. So literally, I ran outside to my next door neighbors, pounding, asking for somebody to help calm me down, because being alone, it was just horrifying. Until eventually I realized, wait, why am I out here? So I literally ran back inside, and it just got so bad, the fact that I had to go next door out when it was windy as heck. You could hear thunder. It got that bad because I was just that horrified. But after the few years, it took me forever, from 8th grade up until the time I started working at Walmart. It took me a while to try to get used to the idea of twisters happening. And if that one does happen, I shouldn't be afraid. That I should, try to be prepared, keep an eye on the weather, and make sure everyone's safe. But I should not be horrified, knowing that the Lord is watching over us, and that as long as we remain calm, keep our thoughts high, and make sure we're prepared, we don't have anything to fear. To give an idea of how well I think I've done in terms of that, a few months ago we had 2 tornado warnings, both occurring at the same time, one above the county and one around the area I lived at. So me and my family, we brought our animal friends to the closet. We had the Weather Channel on to make sure to keep a track of the storm. And we all were just remaining calm. Even when the power went out, I didn't panic because I knew that, 1, I was praying constantly, and 2, we were all prepared. We had water and our lanterns out, so in case the power went out, or in case we had enough supplies and light, so we can all be fine. Luckily, we were safe. There wasn't like any damage. There was a tree that fell behind a back house, but it wasn't close to hitting the house. It was like a tall little tree, nothing too major. But I felt calm. I felt like I've overcome this fear that I used to be afraid of for a while. I presume to remain calm, not to be afraid, and just let everything fall into the Lord's hands to protect us. And I think I've matured a lot and make sure I wasn't afraid. I mean, yes, Tristers are scary, but as long as you don't let the fear overcome your thought or make you lose your self-control, then you don't got anything to worry about. As long as you like keep everything prepared and safe and all that jazz, then you'll be fine. Now granted, I mean, that's not meaning all of my fears have been taken away. There are a few things mentally that I'm afraid of, but being able to overcome one of my longest running fears over the course of time felt really accomplishing. Now granted, there are times where I do get nervous when a major storm system does come, but I'm not as afraid as I was years ago. So I mean, if you're someone out there who is afraid of something, whether it be tornadoes like what I had or clowns or anything like that, know that you will overcome your fear, and just don't let it overtake you or change who you are. I know I just quoted for Paranorman, but screw it. I love that movie. And I think that wraps up this story time video here. I have to admit, it's kind of interesting revamping my topic of my fear of tornadoes that I've somewhat gotten over. But I just think it's a little fun little story I do, and I've been wanting to talk about it ever since this huge line of hurricanes, and I am praying for everybody, whoever lives in Texas, Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, whatever the major hurricanes have destroyed homes or flooded areas, that I'm still praying for you guys, and that hopefully everything will rebuild back up. So if you have a major fear, or you used to have a major fear that you were able to overcome, comment and share about your little history about your fear or overcoming an obstacle or something. It'll be really interested to see how this video will fare. So thank you guys for watching. God bless yous, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye bye!